My wonderful, beautiful, amazing Taurus. Happy birthday to all Tauruses, to my beautiful followers and fledglings. Day to all Tauruses who haven't subscribed yet. But anyway, I'm Gabriella from Gabriella's Vampire Tarot. For today, I'm going to be doing a general reading of past, present, future, and 9-card spread. I'm going to be using the regular tarot deck, clarify with the vampire deck, draw a special vampire card, draw a vampire oracle, and then draw 3 yes or no answers for thee. But anyway, I also wanted to show off my new black dress. I know you can't really see it, but it's similar to, the red dress that I occasionally wear. So it's kind of like, big, wide, and it pretty much, matches my, my gloves and stuff like that. But anyway, let's get started on your reading. The general card is the Fool upright. Let's look at the first row, which is also your past. You start off with Page of Wands upright, Ace of Swords, Knight of Swords. My goodness. Yes, interesting. I mean, I sort of gave a similar reading to Aries. I mean, of course, you could also have Aries somewhere in your star chart, or Leo or Sagittarius for that matter. But yeah, you embarked on this kind of journey in the past, whatever it was, and you were putting time and effort regarding the Ace of Swords upright, and you were determined, and you were, moving quite fast and heading towards that desired, goal, results or end, whatever it was. I mean, technically we are heading, towards the end of our year cycle and stuff like that. But yeah, you were definitely embarking on this beautiful voyage, because similar to, the Page of Wands, there's the Page of Cups, which is also, coming up soon, but it's also about, wanting to actually, bring forth this daydream, or the Page of Swords, an outgoing, time and efforts card. Or even the Page of Pentacles, where you're pretty much embarking on this kind of career or financial endeavor and stuff like that. But, this voyage, you were putting a lot of time and effort, and I'm not surprised. I mean, being in your birthday season, you are a very bold, confident, fixed individual and stuff like that. I mean, of course, you could have Aquarius, Libra, Gemini somewhere in your star chart, but you are incredibly determined and very ambitious. Amazing. And, of course, I'm not surprised at all. I'm never surprised by, whatever my beautiful Tauruses do in this world. But let's look at the current times. Because like I mentioned about the Page of Cups, but first, a Death card, one of the cards I pulled for the vampire, but it's a form of rebirth. And yep, here's the Page of Cups, but it came in reversed. Ace of Wands reversed. Okay, yeah, it looks like that you more or less have a change of thought regarding this whole ambition, this whole, you were incredibly motivated and ambitious in the past, but yet, you had a bit of a change of heart, because this rebirthing is kind of a very beautiful card for that matter, but it's also kind of, having to let go of something and stuff like that. And regarding the Page of Cups reversed, it's a realistic card, because normally when the Page of Cups shows up upright and stuff like that, it's kind of like a daydream, but it's also a bit of an illusion and stuff like that. And I'm just wondering if you kind of talked yourself out of something, because regarding the Ace of Wands reverse, it's like putting no time and effort, no motivation. I mean, it's like you put the wand from the Page of Wands down, thinking like, how realistic is this goal or endeavor that we're actually more or less heading towards and stuff like that. And next to, Virgo and Capricorns, it's like, I love, how realistic, earth signs are, because you guys really have this very beautiful, down-to-earth and grounded and balanced, perspective and sensations going on in your mind regarding, okay, how are we going to actually do this, and is it feasible? Well, again, I'm going to have to clarify this, but we're first going to have to look at the future. Okay, you do start off with the Devil upright. I'm not allowed to show the Devil, but it came up upright. 3 of Cups reversed. And then you get the 10 of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles upright. Yeah. Okay, it looks like that you kind of talked yourself out of it, but there could also be potential uncertainty and fear regarding the Devil. So, the Devil, you feel, kind of confined, you feel stuck, you feel like, oh goodness, it's like, your, insecurities, will pretty much is holding you back and stuff like that. And, I mean, of course, it's like, sometimes, when you have to kind of, let go of something, that could still give you some kind of personal achievement regarding the 3 of Cups reversed. But yet, you do end up in a very beautiful, strong, confident suit as the King of Pentacles, one of your beautiful cards. Yeah, so sometimes, it's like, yeah, I mean, you have this idea. It is kind of like a daydream, like the past, you were embarking on this voyage, regarding the Page of Wands, and you put time and effort into something, but yet thing, within you kind of held you back, and you just said, well, let's look at this from a different angle. Because the thing is, it's like, regarding the death, it's, yeah, it is definitely about having to let something go, but it's also a change of course in the form of rebirthing, of having to transition your phase, your planning, your voyage in any way. But yet, I am kind of a bit worried about about the devil, or you could even have Capricorn somewhere in your star chart, but I would like to do some clarification to verify this all. Because regarding the Page of Wands, Nine of Swords, okay. You already had a bit of uncertainty and a little bit of insecurity regarding this voyage and stuff like that, because the Nine of Swords is about nightmares. It's pretty much, feeling already a bit unhappy, but it's already having, this uncertainty and fear about you regarding this voyage or quest that you were pretty much heading towards. I mean, I know that we're heading, towards the end of our cycle, our year cycle and stuff like that. I mean, I'm wondering, okay, well, some humans, they could be, heading off towards college and stuff like that, and that's also kind of like some kind of voyage, or you're heading off towards your first job, or maybe even a transition job, or you're leveling up in education levels and stuff like that. This is you actually embarking on this quest and voyage, stuff like that, but you were already afraid about, this quest in the past regarding the Nine of Swords. I understand that completely, because the thing is, when you're about to embark on something, yes, it's exciting, to bring forth this wonderful news of transitionings and changes, but yet here comes reality knocking on his door saying, okay, well, it's time now to actually, we'll put our time and effort into this voyage, and then you're like, I need a little bit more time here. Well, I know that feeling all too well, because regarding, the Ace of Swords, you do get the Five of Knives and the Five of Swords for that matter. So definitely, you were already kind of, like overcoming, your fears, your uncertainties about, any kind of like, any kind of uncertainties and fears regarding, the Page of Wands and the Nine of Swords. So this is you saying, come on, Taurus, let's not dawdle anymore. This is, it's normal to have these fears. It's normal, to feel, insecure. Or lack of clarity, a lack of faith, or any kind of, negativity for that matter. But the most important thing is, but why did you actually want to embark on that voyage regarding the Page of Wands in the first place? If you're heading off towards college and you're worried about it, a normal feeling. I've come across thousands of humans that have, well, pretty much just thought, whoa, I'm about to do that. Of course, everybody's like, yeah, that's really exciting. And then you're like, well, one of the very, a lot of, humans, feel like that. So never consider yourself that you're part of the 3 or 5% who actually feel like that. No. Because I'll let you in on a little tiny secret. About 95% of humans actually already have this intense fear when they're about to embark. But yeah, a lot of people put on this facade of confidence of saying, yeah, I can do this. And deep down they're like, oh my goodness, I don't think I can handle this. Well, I'm sure everything is just going to work out no matter what, because, you're going to be confident in the future. Because regarding the Knight of Swords, you're incredibly determined, ambitious, and you're very inspired, but you get the Eight of Cups. Okay, well, this could also be you heading off towards, that new beginning of some kind, because, that you have to, this is you actually keeping up your ambition and your, your inspiration about actually why you're heading down this goal and endeavor, whatever it was that happened in the past. But either way, what I'm kind of sensing is, it's like any kind of like transition, new beginnings for that matter. If you see it coming, it's worse than when it's unexpected. In my case, when I got turned into a vampire, okay, I more or less lucked out, or at least, this is what my human familiar told me, is that I lucked out in the sense that it happened, so fast, that I didn't see it coming. Maybe, there was a reason for, that it had to happen so fast. Because, if you see something coming, and you're just thinking, oh my goodness, it's going to happen in a week, in a month, in a year, and you see it coming closer and closer, it scares you, you just think, oh my goodness, come on, just show up already, and then it's just taking its time, just heading towards you and stuff like that, and you just think, no, okay, then I'm going to head towards you and stuff like that, or this is you actually heading away from something. But I think this is you actually, facing, this transition head on, because, afterwards we do get the Death card of the transition. Because regarding the death of the new beginning, you get 3 of Cups. So this is you actually heading towards the beautiful transition, hopefully not into vampirism in any way, but this is a grand celebration taking place because you're facing it. And the fact is, you've already come, your fears, your uncertainties of anything, that you pretty much are worried and scared about, but this is you actually heading off towards the new beginning, and there's a grand celebration taking place. Wonderful. And again, it's like a lot of humans, regarding any kind of uncertainties about, new beginnings, it's always scary because you just don't know what to expect, right? Because this is probably your first time maybe of embarking on this new journey. And the first times are always, incredibly, worrisome for thousands of humans in this world. Because regarding this realistic, card of the Page of Cups, you do get the Five of Grails. Now, there could be a bit of disappointment because, you're finally coming to terms with something. And that could also be leading to why you have no motivation. But either way, it's like, okay, the transition, looks like it's incredibly promising and it looks like a beautiful success taking place. But yet, your realism is finally coming to pass right now and you kind of feel a bit uncertain about it. Okay, well, it's like, reality is always scary and never fair in many ways. If somebody were to, constantly be, looking at me and say, yeah, you're a vampire and you can't have kids and you have no, you can't find this and that and stuff like that. If you keep throwing, the realistic, themes at me of saying, oh yeah, you can't do this and that, stuff like that, I personally know, but to have it constantly thrown at me, it can make one feel like, they're dealing with disappointment and disparity. Because the thing is sometimes, realism, it's nice to be in a fantasy world of, reading, fiction and all this kind of, literature and stuff like that. But sometimes, when you actually, will read something, that's based off of, reality and stuff like that, it can make you feel like, yeah, there is a bit of disappointment taking place and stuff like that. But it's better to face, disappointment than to be, living in a life of illusions in the sense where eventually, the Five of Cups eventually does show up and you just think, whoa, I've been actually, feeling, deceptive, from all this unrealistic, circumstances, stuff like that. Now, regarding the Ace of Wands reversed, you have no motivation or passion, whatever, but you do get the World. Okay, this is one of your beautiful cards. It's a fixed card, for that matter, just like you are a fixed sign. But yeah, the thing is, you are embarking on this, kind of journey, or you're heading out into this world, but yet you pretty much have no motivation. Yeah, I really hope it's not because of any kind of fear or uncertainties that could be contributing to this combination and, coming up real soon. It can happen in a few days or in a week or next week, for that matter. But either way, yeah, sometimes, when you are getting out, sometimes, realistic, mindsets and themes could pretty much make you feel like, okay, there's really absolutely no motivation. Why do I even bother? I understand that all too well. I really know exactly how you feel regarding this combination, stuff like that. Because this does lead you over to the Devil, but I do see you in a very confident position in the future as well. So, because regarding the Devil, I want to know more about the Devil. Yep, you get the Five of Pentacles in the future. Okay. Yeah, maybe you're kind of being thrown with all of these requirements of some kind, or maybe additional resources that you need to start heading, towards working towards or something, because, you obviously, could be perhaps dealing with some kind of poverty situation in the future regarding even the Devil of, of feeling stuck and feeling, oh goodness, because the big bad wolf decided to show up in the future. Now, that's why I'm here, because whatever you do right now could, change the course of the future for that matter. But yeah, I would try to maybe find, still a bit of optimism and happiness and stuff like that to try to counter, that Five of Pentacles kind of situation, because it's also like being left out in the cold, and maybe that's, what could make you feel stuck. But it could also mean, that you have to probably maybe look for, side jobs or something, if you are about to embark on going to college for, that matter, or you're about to embark on any kind of, new voyage or course, whatever it is that you're heading towards in current times as well, is that you probably need to start looking over at all of the requirements, and maybe that is what can make you feel like, oh goodness, why do I even bother? I have no motivation. I have to do everything now. I have to take care of this and that and stuff like that. I've witnessed thousands of humans, because here it is, the potential future that may or may not happen, but I will, yeah, the thing is, it's like, Yeah, that's why, regarding, the Page of Cups, this is where, your reality could pretty much, start kicking in, and then you pretty much just think, okay, well, now I first have to go to college and then have to work on the side, or I have to do this and I have to do that and that and that and stuff like that, all this unnecessary fear and stuff like that. Well, it's like it could happen or it doesn't have to happen, but the most important thing, that I would like to, offer as some kind of advice and suggestion in this reading is, it's like, first take everybody's suggestion with a grain of salt, always, because humans, for that matter, it's like, unless they have so much, what you call, like backup and resources and especially experience for that matter, where they say, yes, I know this combination all too well. I've personally been down it, and then, all these other people have been down it. It most likely will happen to you. Then but always take everybody's suggestion with a grain of salt. So if they say, yeah, you need to do all of these requirements, you have to do everything, you have to suddenly, get thrown all of this heaviness, thrown at you. Okay, it may happen or may not happen, until that moment happens, you'll want to look into, just saying, okay, well, let's just, cross that bridge, till we get there, and not just immediately start, being thrown, this devil, situation of being confined, and the big bad wolf that decides, to show up and stuff like that. So, because regarding the Three of Cups reversed, you get Prince of Wands. Now, this is the Page of Wands. Did you already get Page of Wands? No, you did not. That was Aries. Well, the thing is this is actually you, grabbing, your metaphorical bullhorns and pretty much saying, okay, well, let's try to, strategize, analyze, observe, and execute our plans, because this is what we want to achieve in the future and stuff like that. So this is you actually thinking, okay, in order to avoid any kind of, negativity, whether it's the devil, the Five of Pentacles, big bad wolf kind of, person, individual, whoever it may be, or whatever it may be, is we need to actually, start, planning right now so we can actually balance our schedule. And I know hundreds of Tauruses out in this world that are excellent at doing that. You guys are, will make really good, like, guidance counselors, or even, supporters for that matter, because you guys are grounded and very, realistic individuals. You guys could really help a lot of humans out in this world. I'm just saying. But anyway, this is you actually finding your ambition again, and this is what's giving you your personal achievement regarding the Three of Cups in the future. Because regarding the King of Pentacles in the end, you get Daughter of Knives, the Page of Swords. So you at least got 3 pages in this reading. This is an outgoing card. It's getting out into this world because you want to actually achieve this balanced, grounded, and also a wonderful, beautiful card of actually living in a life of luxury in the future. Abundance. So this is you putting time and effort on, this voyage that you're heading towards. So I would just look into, whatever you have to work on right now. So, the big bad wolf doesn't have to be, like, just, walking around, where you pretty much feel a bit on the vulnerable side and stuff like that. But either way, I do see you actually taking action in the future because you want to achieve this. Amazing. Amazing. Because for your beautiful card, whoa, you get the devil again. Again, you could also have Capricorn somewhere. But the devil is kind of here to remind you, it's kind of a bit of a sneaky deity of whatever it may be. But it's also kind of, what you crave, desire, and lust for. And you could also crave and desire, wanting to be in a life of luxury and stuff like that. Now, technically, the devil in this picture does not show that you desire this. Hopefully not. But, no, but the devil is here to remind you to say, if you want to defeat this devil, it's about putting time and effort on, going about your, your voyage and quest, and really, taking action on defeating the devil. Because for your oracle, Burned by the Sun, ambition, extension, and reach. I see you incredibly ambitious, regarding, the Knight of Swords. I mean, I already mentioned that word before and stuff like that. And extension and reach, if you want to actually, gain, any kind of offerings from other people, I would definitely, reach out and extend to other humans, that may or may not have been through a similar situation, stuff like that, but I think everything is going to work out fine. Sometimes we are dealt with all of these, scary cards in the sense, but it's mostly like alarm clocks in the sense, don't keep hitting the snooze button, because otherwise the big bad wolf and the devil is going to show up, and, metaphorically speaking, of course. But, if you put in time and effort regarding your voyage and quest, whatever it may be, everything should work out just fine. I'm going to finish off with 3 yes or no answers. Please feel free to pause this video and think about the questions you want to answer, because for number 1, you get a no with the King of Swords reversed. A no with the High Priestess reversed. Ah, and a yes at the third devil. Okay, so you get two no's and one yes in this reading. Okay, well, for my beautiful birthday Taurus, this happy birthday to you all again. May all of your beautiful wishes, dreams come true after you blow out your birthday candles. But I'm going to have to leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining me. I love you guys incredibly. In a few days, I'm going to go back to love readings for, now I'm just doing general and love readings, but I'm also open for personal readings. All you have to do is subscribe to my channel, post in a little discussion box, and I'll respond to you with my email. But thank you so much for joining me. I love you guys incredibly, and I want to wish you best of luck on this beautiful journey and voyage.